are announced.
The Texas A&M University system bans diversity statements from job applications.
And 4 American citizens are kidnapped in Mexico.
You're watching Texas News Primetime.
News made for Longhorns. Good evening and welcome to Texas News Primetime. For Monday, March 6th, I'm Hope Vanderburg.
And I'm Paisley Porter. Thank you for joining us.
For Primetime on campus, starting today, you can pay off your parking citation with cans of soup. The Food for Fines program will accept donations of soup cans as payment for one eligible campus parking citation up to $75. The program will run through March 24th, and all donations will benefit the UT Outpost, a free food pantry for UT students. All other terms and conditions for this initiative can be found on the university's website. The University of Texas women's basketball team hosted a celebration today at the Moody Center to recognize their title as the Big 12 regular season champions. The team is bringing home this honor for the first time since 2004 and 13th time in program history. The Longhorns ended the regular season with a conference record of 14-4 and ranked 15th in the NCAA. The campus-wide election results were announced live today at the William C. Powers Student Activity Center. This election included positions within student government, Texas Student Media, University Co-op, and more. We spoke with the newly elected Student Government President and Vice President Executive Alliance, Helen Getachew and William Ramirez. Here's what they had to say.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't even know what to describe. I just kind of feel adrenaline. And it hasn't really sunken in yet, but I'm super excited and looking forward to starting. I'm ready to start right now.
So I feel like a lot of it is reconciling with the student body and making sure that we amend those relationships that might have been broken in the past. It's one thing to reach out to them, but it's a different thing to interact with them. And we really hope to do that through our initiatives. A lot of what it meant to us, Tomorrow's Texas meant to us, was not only winning this campaign, but really making sure that our initiatives were thought out. I'm just excited to work for people.
Same.
We also wanted to congratulate our very own Kayla Bridgens for being elected Student Government Communication Representative.
For Primetime locally, a Texas favorite, Hamilton Pool, has opened its reservations through August so individuals can reserve a morning or afternoon slot. Travis County has stated that swimming access is dependent on bacteria levels in the water. Reservations cost $12 per vehicle plus $8 per adult, but children 12 years and younger are free of admission. Experts at the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center are predicting that the Texas 2023 wildflower season will be, quote, especially lush. This is thought to be partially caused by the rain that Texas received in the fall, right when the bluebot seedlings were just starting to come up. The other factor thought to be a part of this was last year's drought, which may seem counterintuitive, but when grasses died, it opened up space in the soil for our beloved bluebonnets. Texas bluebonnets typically peak in early April, but the LBJ Wildflower Center has stated that we could see some a bit earlier this year. Classes for UT students are put on hold next week for spring break. With students out of class, South by Southwest, and the Austin Rodeo, law enforcement and emergency medical services are calling in additional personnel and resources in hopes of keeping everyone safe. Captain Nowak with Austin Travis County EMS wants individuals to have fun and enjoy the great outdoors, but also warns the city to not drive under the influence and to be mindful of safety.
For Texas News, debates over House Bill 1266 intensified after being assigned to the House State Affairs Committee. The bill, filed by Representative Nate Schatzline, would classify drag show venues as, quote, sexually oriented businesses, end quote, which would result in additional taxes, licensing restrictions, and prohibit minors from attending. The committee met just 2 days after a video surfaced of Schatzline wearing a dress on social media. The representative was heavily criticized for hypocrisy since the video would qualify as drag under his bill's definition. Schatzline's House Bill 1266 is just one of 4 bills filed by various Republican representatives taking aim at drag shows. A Chinese organized crime group that targets Asian Americans has obtained thousands of Texans' driver's license and their personal information. This led to them obtaining credit card information and ordering duplicate copies. This was not caused by hacking, but by a security loophole on the DPS website. Officials say that this loophole has now been closed, and letters have been sent out to those affected. On Thursday, March 2nd, the Texas A&M system, including its universities and agencies, was ordered to stop diversity statements in their applications. John Sharp, chancellor of the Texas A&M University system, said, quote, "No university or agency in the Texas A&M will admit any student nor hire any employee based on any factor other than merit," end quote. This follows Governor Greg Abbott's orders last month sent out to Texas public institutions. The statement sent out concluded that DEI hiring practices are a violation of employment laws and bars them from considering factors other than merit.
For PrimeTime Nation, following the controlled burning of toxic chemicals after a train derailment in Ohio, it has been reported that hazardous waste materials are now being transported out of the state after the EPA approved 2 sites in Ohio to handle the disposal of the waste. On the opposite side of Ohio, in Beaver County, the EPA opened a health resource center so residents can talk to health experts and sign up to, quote, have their water tested and learn about other available resources, end quote. Additionally, the EPA is also employing free cleaning services to any concerned Ohio residents, which would involve testing of certain particles and a deep clean of the home. This past week, many places across the western United States have seen blankets of snowfall, including in the Colorado Basin and Lake Mead. However, experts are still cautious about excessive water usage in states affected by drought. Robert Glennon, a professor at the University of Arizona who specializes in water policy, stated, quote, "We didn't get into this problem in 1 year, and we are not going to get out of this problem in a year," end quote. In California, for instance, groundwater supplies are pumped out faster than they can be recharged, meaning that long-term reductions in water demand are necessary in order to ensure water for residents. Currently, 7 states across the Midwest are negotiating water cuts to ensure that they can meet these reductions in water usage. According to the CDC, norovirus, a highly contagious virus that causes gastrointestinal symptoms such as vomiting, nausea, and stomach pain, appears to be at a 12-month high. The CDC, who have been monitoring the norovirus in the U.S., believes that we are seeing an increase in the virus due to a relaxation of the pandemic restrictions. There is no treatment for norovirus, and it is resistant to ethanol sanitizers and bleach, or hand soap being the best way to avoid infection. However, the illness typically resolves within a few days.
For Primetime World, 4 American citizens were kidnapped in Mexico on Friday after crossing the border in South Texas. The Americans got caught in crossfire between 2 groups, according to Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador, in an incident that killed a Mexican citizen. The current condition of the Americans is unknown. Protesters in Athens, Greece have gathered after a head-on collision between a passenger train and a freight train last Tuesday evening near the city of Larissa in central Greece. The collision has left 57 people dead and 48 hospitalized. The passenger train was carrying over 350 passengers. Of the 48 hospitalized, 6 are in critical condition due to head wounds and serious burns. The train station master has been charged with mass deaths through negligence and causing grievous bodily harm through negligence. After 5 rounds of negotiations, the UN has passed a treaty to protect the world's oceans. The treaty aims to conserve and ensure the sustainable use of ocean biodiversity by creating a legal framework that would place 30% of oceans into protected areas and put more money into marine conservation. The treaty is, quote, crucial for addressing the triple planetary crisis of climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution, end quote.
For Primetime Verifies, a Department of Energy report first reported on by the Wall Street Journal has renewed conversations that the COVID-19 pandemic occurred due to a lab leak. While it is true that the Energy Department has reached this conclusion, according to the Wall Street Journal, it is important to note that this conclusion was reached with, quote, low confidence, end quote. And the evidence that the Energy Department used to determine this has not been made public. The Energy Department is also only one of 8 intelligence agencies that conducted reviews on where the COVID virus came from. The Federal Bureau of Investigation concluded with, quote, moderate confidence, end quote, that the pandemic originated in a lab. 2 other agencies remain undecided on COVID's origins, and 4 agencies, along with the National Intelligence Council, have concluded with, quote, low confidence, end quote, that the pandemic occurred due to transmission from an animal. After the break, we'll have Sophia Kurtz bring you up to date on the world of business, and Julia Mia will tell us what's been going on in the world of STEM. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back to Texas News Primetime. Here with us now is Primetime business correspondent Sophia Kurtz. How are you doing today, Sophia?
I'm well. How are you doing, Hope?
I'm doing great. Now tell us what's been going on in the world of business.
Sure thing. Eli Lilly, a pharmaceutical company, has announced a reduction in the price of insulin to $35. This came after President Biden issued a statement demanding that pharmaceutical companies lower existing prices. Insulin prices have risen over 1,000% over the last 2 decades, and the pandemic seemed to only worsen the issue, with the cap on insulin being lowered to one company. Other companies are expected to follow suit to remain competitive. Calls to boycott Walgreens have spread throughout social media this week as the company informed the country that it would not ship abortion pills to 20 states. California's Governor Gavin Newsom, in his tweet reacting to the news, declared that California would not do any business with the company after their abortion policy surfaced. Many anti-abortion policies have spread around the country after the Supreme Court case Dobbs v. Jackson. This is a developing story, and we will continue to update it as more information comes to light. And finally, Boeing this week declined to give its CEO, Dave Calhoun, a $7 million bonus this week after the company failed to enter the 777X into service by the end of 2023. The 777X is the company's newest twin-engine plane, and its rollout was one of the goals that Calhoun received by Boeing after becoming the CEO. The delay of this plane will put the CEO on thin ice, and it will be interesting to see how Boeing continues to react.
Thank you for coming on, Sophia. Next up, telling us about what's been going on in terms of STEM news, we have Julia Mia. How are you doing today, Julia?
I'm doing great. You know, the S in STEM stands for sexy. So here I am.
Tell us, Julia, what's been going on in the world of STEM?
Of course. Elon Musk's company, SpaceX, launched 4 astronauts to the International Space Station in its latest mission. The mission, named Crew 6, will bring a group consisting of 2 Americans, 1 Russian and 1 Emirati, to the space station for a 6-month stay in orbit. Crew 6 is SpaceX's 6th operational crew launch for NASA. This mission also marks the company's 9th human spaceflight, and this brings the total number of astronauts launched by SpaceX to 34. CO2 emissions reached record highs in 2022. A recent study from the International Energy Agency reported that CO2 emissions from energy production grew 0.9%, reaching 36.8 gigatons. The increase occurred due to air travel rebounding from the pandemic and more cities turning to coal, a low-cost source of power. Additionally, extreme weather events such as heat waves and droughts intensified emissions due to its demand for energy and fossil fuels. Global Carbon Project President Rob Jackson said, quote, "Any emissions growth, even just 1%, is a failure," end quote. About 20,000 people who attended a religious gathering last month in Kentucky may have been exposed to measles. The Center for Disease Control sent an alert about the potential outbreak to public health officials. After the Kentucky Department for Public Health reported a case of measles in an unvaccinated individual, the individual attended the large gathering on February 17th and 18th at Asbury University in Wilmore, Kentucky, and had a recent history of international travel. The CDC recommends that any unvaccinated individuals who were attending the gathering quarantine for 21 days after exposure.
Thank you for coming on today, Julia. Next up, after the break, we'll have Ethan Ferguson for sports news in Press Box on Primetime. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Texas News Primetime. Joining us now for our special segment of Press Box on Primetime, we have Ethan Ferguson. How are you doing today, Ethan?
I'm doing great, Hope. Thank you so much for having me. It's always great to be here.
All right, Ethan, so why don't you take us through the sports news from this past week?
Sure thing. We kick off our sports coverage with the final regular season basketball game in the Moody Center this season. Number 9, now 7, Texas Longhorns defeated the number 3 Kansas Jayhawks 75-59 in an impressive showing on senior night. Serge Jabari Rice and Tyrese Hunter both finished the game in the 20-point scoring mark, and Texas as a whole was noticeably fired up and having fun throughout the entire game. The Longhorns secured a number 2 seeding in the upcoming Phillips 66 Big 12 Men's Basketball Championship, and they will play the winner of Oklahoma versus Oklahoma State on March 9th in Kansas City. Now, on to the number 12 Texas women's basketball team, or should I say the 2022-2023 Big 12 regular season champions, led by All-American Rory Harmon. Their 80-52 win over the Kansas State Wildcats in Manhattan earned the Longhorns their first conference title since 2004. They also clinched the number 1 seed in the upcoming Big 12 tournament and celebrated with water showers following the game. The men and women's basketball teams combined for a 31-3 record at home this season. It's pretty impressive. Now we go to the NFL Combine, where Bijan Robinson and Roshan Johnson made their case for Texas as running back university. Bijan finished the day with an impressive showing, ranking first among all other running backs at the Combine. He ran a 4.46 40-yard dash with a 1.52 10-yard split, and he also jumped 37 inches vertically and had a 10-foot 4 inches in the broad jump. Expect his name to be called early in this year's draft. As for Roshan, he showed off his speed as well, running 40 yards in 4.58 seconds. He also jumped 31.5 inches vertically and 10 feet 2 inches in the broad. When it comes down to it, any team would be lucky to have either player on their roster next season.
So Ethan, what are your predictions for both men's and women's basketball in the Big 12 tournament?
Well, Hope, they've showed a lot of talent to get to where they are at this point of the season, with the women's team having won the Big 12 and the men's team being just one game behind to Kansas. I think that the men's last game against Kansas was kind of a revenge game for them, so I'm expecting really good things for both teams moving forward in the Big 12 tournament. When it comes down to it, I think that it will just be themselves who ends up beating them if they do end up losing.
Yeah, and with the NFL Combine, do you think Bijan and Roshan will be drafted? And are there any other Longhorns in the Combine as well?
Well, yeah. In addition to Bijan Robinson and Roshan Johnson, there are 3 other Longhorns that are currently in the Combine right now. Moro Jomo, Demarion Overshone, and Keandre Coburn are the final 3. I'm expecting all 5 names of the Longhorns to be called come draft night. Bijan Robinson being the number 1 running back in this upcoming draft, expecting him to be called quite early, and I think there's going to be a lot of celebration in Austin.
Yeah, all of us Longhorns are definitely going to be looking forward to seeing where these players go in the NFL. Thank you for coming on tonight, Ethan. Next up, we have Joseph Sweeney coming on to bring us up to date in entertainment. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back to Texas News Primetime. Here with us now for all of your entertainment needs, we have Joseph Sweeney. How are you doing, Joseph?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for having me today.
Of course. Well, tell us about what's going on in entertainment.
Right, so first we have Gracie Abrams, who celebrated the release of her latest album, Good Riddance. She dropped a new music video called I Know It Won't Work. It's a good song, and the music video is very interesting, but in a good way. Good cinematography, good 4:9. Not really something that you see a whole lot now in videos nowadays. Certainly some interesting lyrical content there. She said that while producing this album, she was going through some of the most overwhelming times of her life. So, and the lyrical content definitely reflects that.
Okay. Awesome. What did you think of the album drop, specifically her latest single and its music video?
Oh, well, like I said, it was very interesting cinematography, very just like somber, not as like high energy as a lot of the pop music that we see today. Honestly, I'd never heard of Gracie Abrams before I was told about this album by a couple friends of mine, but glad I listened to it. It's a great album, great single.
Awesome.
In other entertainment news, we have Miley Cyrus. She returned to Disney, her roots, by Disney Plus, the streaming service. The Endless Summer Vacation, The Backyard Sessions, is going to be released on Friday. That's going to celebrate the release of her eponymous album. She's going to perform the newest single, Flowers, and also 7 other singles for the special.
What are your impressions of Cyrus's latest hit single, Flowers, and does it compare to Cyrus's past hits?
Yeah, so, I haven't listened to much of Miley Cyrus, honestly. I mean, I remember back in the old days, like Party in the USA, a little bit of her later stuff, like Wrecking Ball. I think that was mid-early 2000s, or 2010s, excuse me. Definitely some, compared to her older hits, definitely like a little lower energy, but still definitely like an upbeat song. Definitely something that I'm listening to.
Right, I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, and then finally for entertainment this week, we have Victoria's Secret. Their iconic fashion show has been on hiatus since 2018. Didn't know if you knew that. But the company has not specified how, excuse me, I'm getting ahead of myself here. The company decided that they're going to reintroduce and revamp the fashion show. However, they have not specified how it will be different. It is expected to be a bit more inclusive, given the past allegations during past shows that included some misogyny and sexual harassment that was going on in the industry.
How has the Victoria's Secret brand and business been faring in the past couple of years? What do you think they need to change as a company?
I mean, yeah, they definitely need to, be a bit more inclusive. I know that there were a couple, like I said, there were allegations of transphobia, misogyny going on in the industry. Obviously, when something as Fashion Walks comes on, it's going to be obviously a little divisive when it comes to that front. In terms of how the actual business is faring, what I have heard is that over the past couple of years, they have closed a number of stores. So this is definitely a move to try and get their financials back in order.
Right. I'm looking forward to the revamp. Thank you so much, Joseph, for coming on. And as always, you can follow Texas News Primetime and TSTV News on social media just by searching. Also, you can take us on the go by subscribing to our podcast available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. From all of us here at TSTV, thank you so much for starting your week with us. Now, go out and change your world.